Hello, friends! Today I'm making a coat, or at the very least, cutting the pieces and putting the back together. It's been a while since I put out a sewing video, so I thought a coat would be an interesting project. I've never made one, so I guess we'll learn together? Life has been getting in the way a lot lately. Sewing and knitting have been keeping me grounded. I have a lot of projects that I never get around to filming, or making, or that I film and edit and never record voiceover. 2024 was quite a year. This is the lining I've been laying out. It's 100% cotton sateen. Yes, I want to be warm, but this is Southern California, and I'm starting to have hot flashes. Anything to keep it warm, but not sweaty. Oh, I look so exhausted. But I knew the cutting must go on, with or without the help of my cat. I steamed the linen tape for the next step, which I was originally going entirely out of order, but more on that later. The instructions said to take pieces from hair canvas and cut off the seam allowance along the princess seam between the front and side. Sew together the canvas pieces with a wide zigzag, without any overlap, catching a bias tape underneath to reinforce the seam. So that's what's happening here, with the exception of linen tape instead of bias tape, as it's not only meant to hold the pieces together, but also stabilize the curve. I decided to take on the left front and side front next. The backing on the wool made it very difficult to keep the stitching line straight, as it made the fabric super slippy. The thickness also made it harder for the feed dogs to do their job properly. But I go into more detail about the backing in the next clip. That part going over the bust curve was legit the actual worst. Okay, so you'll have to pardon the audio right now, but on these pieces, I got this one seam done, and I just couldn't keep the seam line, or the seam allowance, even because of this horrendous backing. And the dryer just kicked on, so whatever. If you hear that, I apologize, because camera microphone. who knows what it picks up. I don't know. I've never used it really. But yeah, this is a very tedious process. And I mean, I love the hand that this fabric has without the backing. And I have done a test swatch trying to get rid of this. I will show it up closer, but to get rid of this shenanigans on the back now. I have tried ironing it over a paper towel with steam, which really only kind of flattened everything. It didn't really, you know what, I'll get that. This is what it did to it. Hello. Camera, hello. It just kind of flattened everything out. So, you know, even ironing it to itself, it didn't stick. You can still see maybe the crease from where I did that. Yeah. But like, I think it's just gonna completely be a non-issue. Let's hope and keep our fingers crossed. So I'm going to keep tearing this away from here. I'm going to unpick this seam, which sadly I put in like 2 weeks ago. And I've just been racking my brain as to how to get back onto this project when it's going so dismally. So here we are. It ends up like this. And it, if you can see it, it has a really nice hand. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put this video out in parts, I mean this project out in parts, because this is insanity. So I will get these bits done and then show you what it all looks like without this backing. Yeah, and then we'll call it a day. Later that same day, I received a package from Silk Baron. It's a 3-yard cut of onyx black du peony silk, paid for by my patrons. Thank you, fair friends. It will be used to make the 1890s side-closing bodice from Past Patterns. Link below for the Patreon. I am so heckin' happy with the silk. I decided it would be a good idea to steam the backing to remove it. I was afraid it would melt if the iron touched it, so I hovered it over the fabric. I know some of you are screaming internally over the amount of waste this created, but time and money were both factors here. I didn't have the money to ship it back, and cold weather was coming on quickly. A twill interlining was stitched into the shoulder and neck area of all 4 back panels to stabilize and prevent stretching. Pressing between steps is not optional, friends. The next bit of the instructions said to turn in the seam allowance of the right back piece along the vent edge. Oops, didn't do that. And line up both back pieces right sides together. Stitch down the center back seam until reaching mark. Pivot and keep sewing along the top edge of the vent, reducing the stitch length at the corner. The instructions went on as follows. Clip the seam allowance of the right back only at the mark and press open the seam allowance from top to mark. Turn in the vent facing of the left back piece along the center back line and press. Baste to hold the vent facing in place. Catch stitch the raw edges of both vent sides to the top layer, with tiny stitches barely visible on the right fabric side. From the right fabric side, top stitch diagonal from mark towards the left side to hold the top edge of the vent in place. I then stitched the center backs to the side backs and pressed the seams open. As stated earlier, pressing is not an optional step. And thus, the back of the coat is complete. Alright, friends. Here is the finished coat back, which has been sitting around for about 2 months now, waiting for this. And here are the front facing, front, side front, the sleeve bits, and the collar. I also have a Roscoe. Now, I'm still working on this thing. Next up is the welted pockets that go in that piece. And needless to say, I'm not looking forward to that journey. But so far, we have this much. And to be honest, it's looking pretty shapely. So I'm quite happy with it so far. I do hope that I will have a coat by the end of February. However, it may not be finished until this coming November. Who knows? I have very limited time. So anyway, Yeah, next time will be the welted pockets. Still don't know when I'm gonna get to that, but, you know, coat back. That looks really nice. So, that being said, until next time, friends.